Welcome back. This week in Washington, it's all about Tuesday. So for our small business spotlight this week, what's at stake, what to watch, and why the 2014 midterm elections matter. Joining us today, Kate Bonner, Manager of Federal Public Policy for Nfib, the National Federation of Independent Business, the biggest voice for small business in Washington, with over 350,000 members nationwide. Kate Bonner, thanks so much for joining us. So let's face it, even with voter apathy, there's always a lot at stake in midterm elections. But right now, with the balance of power hanging in the balance and all eyes carefully watching the Senate, what does Nfib consider to be the biggest issues at stake in this race? Well,
there are a lot of issues, and small business owners are very engaged in the elected process. We're really looking for whoever the majority is next year in the U.S. Senate to really focus on small business issues, whether that's tax reform, regulatory reform, and also addressing healthcare costs as they continue under the new law. So it's not so much who's in power, but really getting that middle ground together, getting people to focus on small business.
Oh, come on. It's spoken like a true Washington diplomat. But look, we know Nfib is very aggressive on behalf of their agenda, and you all have some things that you have been passionate about. One thing, you all led the fight in the Supreme Court to try and block Obamacare. If the Republicans win control of the Senate, there are lots of questions about whether that will be the opportunity to overturn Obamacare. If the Republicans win, is that going to be a priority for you all?
Well, I think if the Republicans take the U.S. Senate, they're going to have a majority that's very, very small. So again, compromise is going to be necessary. They're going to have to attract some Democratic votes to get anything passed. When you bring up Obamacare, certainly we want to talk about reforms that can happen now.
So you're not going to, day one, say, okay, time for repeal. You all are going to think what you consider more realistically?
I think we need to be very realistic about that. Right now, we need to control health care costs. So if they want to take a vote on repealing the whole law, fine. But at the end of the day, we need immediate relief for small business owners. So that really means addressing cost, access, what products are being sold in each state. It's not so much about the big picture anymore.
But those are all big issues. So give us some of the things that you all would try and push and how you would do it. Would it be piece by piece, or would you try and put forward a bill that could get voted on to tackle all of those issues?
Well, it really remains to be seen with Tuesday. How many seats?
But you all have a plan. You know what you're going to roll out as soon as Tuesday happens. We want to know too.
Well, we're very hopeful with what can happen in the Senate next year. And certainly the House is important also, because whatever happens in one has to happen in the other chamber. And at the end of the day, it has to go to the president's desk for a signature. And there's not really a veto-proof majority in either house. So really, what is that? Is it a compromise package? Is it something that we can bring a lot of people to the floor of the U.S. Senate and get passed? I think it probably is, realistically.
What are some of the other big issues that you all feel like are at stake on Tuesday?
Sure. Well, tax reform is a big issue still. We had a little bit of progress in the House and Senate with some plans put out this past year. But really, we want to see substantive work done next year. And so if that's in Senate Finance or House Ways and Means, we really want attention paid to the individual rates, small business expensing, creating some parity for small business to big business. It can't be corporate only. It has to be inclusive. And in addition to that, we're looking at regulatory reform, too. Regulations have exploded under this administration. We really need to put the focus back on the small business owner and at the beginning of the rulemaking process. We can't wait till the end to a comment period to hope that an agency listens to what small business owners are saying. We need to do it at the beginning of the process.
It's almost become cliche now to say that people are fed up with Washington. What is the outrage level for small businesses? Are they fed up with the White House? Are they fed up with Congress? Are they fed up with both and both parties?
I think they're fed up with everybody. And a good example of that is the rhetoric you hear on the campaign trail. Every candidate that I've heard on the campaign trail talks about small business, how much they love small business. It doesn't matter what party they're from or what office they're running for.
It's like apple pie. You gotta love America's small business.
Everybody loves small business. And small business owners are the backbone of the economy. They're the job creators.
But they're not loving Washington back.
They're not. And so we have to move from rhetoric on the campaign trail to actual legislating. We need leadership in the House and Senate, and we need them to test the White House on this. We need to put bills in front of the president and force him to sign or force him to veto, and then send them back to the House and Senate and provide real action.
Summed up nicely. Kate Bonner from the Nfib. What's at stake at Tuesday's election? Thanks so much for joining us. And coming up, what NASA's big explosion means for business at Orbital Science. Plus, it was a big win for business startups over big labor. What that could mean for you. And too close to call, our insight to the hottest races in our region. The roundtable is next.